begin by introducing myself. I'm Veronica, and this is the first Business Banter program. Before we begin, obviously we have to put God first. Tanisha, if you'd like to come up and lead on prayer for us.
Can we all stand? Just want to give God thanks, first of all, for life, for waking us up this morning. Second of all, for this opportunity. Father, we just come before you this morning with a heart of thanksgiving. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you, oh God, for relationship. We thank you for networking opportunities. We thank you, oh God, for creative, innovative ideas, Father, for the future and the prosperous destiny that you have in place for us to inherit. We thank you for this program. I pray, oh God, that it will reach many and it will reach far beyond what we could have ever expected. Bless the speakers, everything that is said today. Let this be an opportunity and a gateway and a door for many also.
Again, my name is Veronica. This is Business Banter, and I think it speaks for itself. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce the team. Myself, Veronica, part of the hospitality team, and I'm comparing today's program. Tanisha, who is the events coordinator, and that's Tanisha Chambers. And her hubby behind, creeping behind from left to right, is Mikey. And Mikey obviously is one of the directors, I believe that's right, isn't it? Directors for the program. I want to begin by just running through the hospitality, which is fire exit and so forth. To my left, you've got the exit doors going down to the stairs, in case of a fire. To my right, you've got the same from where we came down the stairs as when you came in. That's another fire exit. You've got toilets. If you go through the doors to your right, to my right, and it's on the right-hand side, go downstairs when you're having something to eat. You've got toilets downstairs also. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to just introduce the fact Business Banter, obviously, it's the first time we're doing something like this. Please bear with us. It's a learning curve. It's something that we're very passionate about, and it's about community. And I'm assuming that we're all here for the one thing, and that's about encouraging community. And if there's anything you need, please see one of us. We'll try and aid you as best we can. The program itself, I'll go through with you now. We've had our teas and coffees, and I hope you enjoyed that, and a bit of banter, getting to know each other, as well as obviously learning something from whatever is presented to you today in regards to the speakers. We're going to begin with an icebreaker. And what I'd like you all to do, there's not that many of us, so it shouldn't take too much time, is to begin with everybody standing up one by one, introduce yourselves, and also to speak a little bit about what you do, what your organisation's about. We're then going to split up into twos. Somebody you don't know, find out a bit about what they do, what your company's about, so forth, exchange information, and then I'll be asking you after. So, if I can begin with, I'll come down. I'm just going to pick anybody. I'm picking you. If you'd just like to stand up for me, introduce yourself to everybody else, and just a little few minute lines of what you do.
My name's Antonio. I do personal training, and I train clients on a day-to-day basis on health, fitness, and their minds.
Morning. My name is James. I'm a recruitment consultant in the education sector. So I place teachers, TAs, work with secondary schools and special schools as well.
Hi, morning. I'm Simon, and I make computer games, but that's not what I'm here for. I also, I've had a few properties for a while, and I'm looking for a property business manager. No, sorry, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a property mentor. So, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Hello, I'm Elaine. I work for Birmingham City Council as an administrator, and I just qualified as a counsellor, psychotherapist.
Hi everyone, my name is June and I'm a holistic therapist or alternative medicine.
Longer than we need to. If you could, right, I want to split you all up into groups. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 34, 13. Okay, you can get into twos. So could you can join with this gentleman here? I'm going to say gentleman. You know him. Thank you for your honesty. Right. Okay, we'll cut that then. If you could join the ladies at the back. Didn't get to you, but pretty lady at the back there. Yes, if you, you know, oh no, here. If you could join the young lady there with the glasses, yeah. If you could you just go together now for me, please? And just sits anywhere. Lady at the back, if you could join the gentleman here. I'll say gentleman and lady because I've forgot your names already, so I do apologise. If you could join gentleman here. If you could join this lady here. And if you could join with this lady just here. Sorry, is involved? Gentleman involved? You're involved? Yeah, that's good. You can still join in, can't you? You're going to join in? Yes, fine. If you could join Michael, you already be. Yes, please. If you could join this lady here. Oh, wonderful. Did I say you? Oh, you know somebody. Oh, got one coming for you. Special one coming for you. Yeah. So if you could sit somewhere over there. It's fine. Yeah. I knew he was coming. Few minutes to talk, introduce myself, finding out about what each other does. Doing a little icebreaker at the moment. Okay. Hello? Oh, still talking? We still. Hello? Thank you. I feel like I'm in a school classroom, so this is quite nice for a change to be on the other side of the tables. But can we all go back to our seats if we don't mind? So I want everybody to focus in the middle section. Hopefully you learned a little bit about each other. And come around to you one by one. And just a few minutes about who you spoke to and see what you remember about them. Is it not? Oh, yeah, to that. Right, so Tanisha is going to hand the microphone round, and if you could just give us a few lines, what you've learned about the person, what you think of their business venture idea, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I met. Oh, very echoey, love it. So I met June. No, it's all right. I met June. She's a holistic therapist. Easy enough to remember as soon as she said it last. She's been doing her business for the past 8 months.
Yeah, fine. Excellent. Can I sort of get your name, please?
Oh, my name's
Daniel, lovely. Thank you. You learned quite a bit, I see. Do you want the mic? If you could you hand that? Could you hand that to? Is it June? Was it?
June, yeah.
Yes, please. If you could stand and.
I spoke to Daniel.
Do you mind standing?
Sorry.
Sorry, darling.
I spoke to Daniel. I've written this down because it's a bit early for me. He's an events yes, coordinates businesses, and he he also works for the sports industry, promoting sports and things like that. And also in his it's not his spare time, but he has an interest in property solutions, and that includes mortgages and anything to do with the housing industry.
Thank you.
Hiya,
Could you give your name? We didn't get through to everybody, so if you don't mind giving your name, please.
I'm Erica. Yeah, hi everybody. I spoke with Hugh over there. I also wrote it down because my memory's like all over the place. But yes, Hugh is an independent mortgage advisor. He's based in Coles Hill, near the NEC. He deals with life insurance, pension planning, and many others. And he's also a finance manager at the New Jerusalem. We didn't get that chance to speak fully to get more information, but yeah, that's Hugh.
Lovely. Thank you. And Hugh, you can borrow my mic. Are you okay?
Hello. Yeah, I talked with Erica, and Erica, in the day, is a support worker, but is looking to build a business. She's a mobile massage therapist and hairdresser. So she's got two strands. her hairdressing, she focuses on micro ring extensions and crochet. I'll visit. Oh, okay, there you are. Plug for Erica. And her massage therapist, as a massage therapist, she's mobile, so she brings the spa and to your home, which should be interesting. And she also runs pamper parties. Okay, and so obviously it's in the early stages of building her business in parallel with full-time working.
I'll be coming to you. If you'd like to take.
My name is Delphine, and I spoke to Michael. Simon, sorry. I've just given him a new name, sorry. Alright. Okay, Simon is doing properties. He does, apart from his gaming, we talked about his property that he does. He has properties in Birmingham and somewhere in the north. And basically, he wants to move his business forward, and he sort of like doesn't really know where to go and which angle to take. So I believe he's here to be able to have some kind of perspective into moving his business forward.
Thank you. If you could pass it to, is it Michael? Simon. Where am I? Sorry. I'm just testing you, make sure you know your name.
Yeah, I'm Michael. I spoke to Delphine. It's quite funny because we say hello to each other every Sunday, but I didn't know her name. But yeah, anyway.
Okay.
And Delphine is in teaching. Yeah. But she wants to move her property business forward as well. So it was quite handy that we started talking to each other. Trying to
Lovely, thank you. Pass the mic to the next lady next to you.
Hi, everybody. On route. I spoke to internet website to support Christian advice. So basically for real issues like whatever, not just the usual testimony, the everyday testimony, thanking God for waking me up this morning. Basically the real kind of issues that people are experiencing, and he wants people to put their testimonies on his website, anonymously obviously, and then people can respond, give advice, or such like.
Okay, thank you. Lovely, thank you.
Hi, I spoke to Ruth, and at the moment, what she wants to do is have an event or project where it's kind of focused on children from the age of 0 to 5 years old, regarding like parents, foster parents, where they can buy or sell pre-used equipment, clothing, books, anything to do with youth, basically.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Antonio. I met Sandy. Sandy works in a homeless centre, well, drop-in, and she serves food and everything.
Thank you.
I spoke with Anton, and he's a personal trainer, which involves not only building people up physically, but building them up mentally and installing confidence. And he's also worked in the arena of mental health.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I met Elaine. She's an administrator for Birmingham City Council. She has an idea, wants to know more about how to develop counselling into an independent business.
Hi, I met Michelle. She just wants to start up a business, but she doesn't know what it is in yet, so she's just trying to obtain as much information as she can. She's completed some training in phlebotomy. That, yeah, and it sounds really. I, I wondered what that was until she told me, and it's not what I thought it was. So that's really good. She's done a couple of roles in administration and security. She is a full-time mom to Joshua, who's going to be 4 on Wednesday. Okay.
Hi, I'm Condola. Spoke to Windsor. He's currently doing some catering as a chef, but he wants to open his own restaurant. So he's come here to find out some more information as how he can go forward.
Hello, my name is Windsor. I spoke to Condola, and she wants to go work self-employed for herself doing admin and bookkeeping. So she's coming for more information. Okay.
Thank you. Young lady in front of you. You, you have, okay, thank you.
Hello, my name's Natalie. I spoke to Michael. He's not actually here about business, but he's here to support his son. He actually doesn't have a business, but he has a great inspiration. He actually takes care of his children from the beginning. He's never been out of their life. Literally, he's the same name as my dad, so I said my dad needs to actually meet him. But really, he's here to support his son, and he says whatever his children is doing, he's there to support them. So something and help other young men out there to support their children, even if they're like. So
Wonderful, thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael. As Natalie just said a while ago, I'm here to support my son and my daughter-in-law. I met Natalie. She's in fashion design and interior. She make like clothes for children. So with all you guys out there who's planning a family or have kids, you know the exact person to go to. You know, we were just talking about like how she started her business. She said she started a business back in September, and it's thriving at the moment, which is really good to see a young lady take up a control of her own life to make a business of her own. And so if a lot of more of us could follow in each other's footsteps, then we would have a better understanding of how life goes. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Yeah. Thanks very much for that. And yeah, give yourself a clap. We are small in numbers, but what we can achieve from this is priceless. And you know, I do appreciate you sharing with each other, and hopefully we can see where we maybe can encourage each other throughout the session and in more interactions while you have a break and lunch and so forth. Before I introduce Mikey, I just want to advise you that on the programme, we were going to have a gentleman by the name of Alan Bagley. Unfortunately, he's unable to attend. This is due to the fact that he's got an elderly father, he's had a fall, and obviously being the doted son and supportive of his family, he's not been able to come in order to support his father this time. So we do wish him well, and he does apologise that he couldn't be here, but hopefully the next time round, we might be fortunate to have him. But he was going to be talking about bankruptcy to business owners, and that is something that was quite crucial to today's programme. But again, we're hopeful that he can come at another time. So just want to address that with you. And if Mikey Chambers could come along, and or shall I say Michael, and he's going to just talk, just give an overview of the business banter.
Thanks, guys. As you know, I'm not a public speaker at all. It scares me, so I'm up here by faith. But it really feels like I'm at school today. You guys are just not smiling enough, so I'm going to ask you to just get up, smile, turn around, do something, and just don't look at me then. Come on, guys. I know we're small in numbers, but come on. Just get up, turn around, talk to somebody, give somebody a high five, do something. See, that's better. There's a lot more, I can see a lot more teeth. That's better. Okay. My name's Michael, for all who doesn't know me. Come to this church every Sunday, you'll see me. I'll give you just a little bit about me before I call up Carl, because I know he's got to rush off. obviously for other commitments. I'm a designer by trade. I work for Halford's Place, so in regards to the competition, I'll be doing that myself. In terms of whoever wins the competition, I'll be taking care of their brand identity. I've been working for Halfords now for about 2.5 years. The main reason why I thought of this idea, and again with Carl's support, I'm a startup as well, so I need that support. I need areas to develop in my business that is really key to growth. And I thought instead of me getting the information and keeping it to myself, the idea is to share it to everybody else so we can develop as a community. Hence why this whole program is going to have a community feel behind it. It's created to encourage more people to start their own business, because I don't know about you, but for myself, I don't want to be working up until I'm 50, 60, whatever to the retirement age. I don't want to be doing that. I want to have multiple businesses. And again, it's to really to provide comprehensive advice, up-to-date advice, because I've received information in the past. Because I started a cafe before, which I had to close down because of finances. So I've invested a lot of money in that, and because of out-of-date business advice, I had to close it. So really, this kind of seminar, this kind of workshop, this kind of atmosphere I'm creating to help people have that up-to-date advice that they can go out and influence each other in their community to develop businesses that will last, not just for 2, 3 years or 5 years even, but just to last and be competitive. Because as I said, I don't want to be working. I don't see myself working past 50, put it that way. I always tell my wife, 50, I'm retiring, so I've got a lot of work to do. And the last part of it is really just the network. I know I've had a lot of people register online, but a lot of people didn't turn up. I don't mind that, but in future sessions, I'm hoping that you guys could spread the word and just build a community. My main aim is to source professional speakers in different industry, different areas, and have them come in and speak on a voluntary basis. So I won't have to charge anybody. It will be a free kind of advice forum. But yeah, that's it. As I said, I've got this kind of motto, mantra that I'm living by in terms of this project. It's basically saying your weakness could be somebody's strength and your strength somebody's weakness. So wherever you're lacking, somebody else has been through it, so they can help you. I know, Simon, you said that you want to get into property. I know Michelle is doing that. So again, she might gone through areas that you haven't even think about. So it's probably good to have a conversation with Melissa at any point today. But yeah, that's me. That's what I'm about. If you need anything in regards to business, branding, corporate marketing, anything like that, just give me a shout and I'll advise you best I can with up-to-date information. As I told you, I work for Halford, so they're really competitive in terms of how their branding looks. So I've got a better idea of what's up-to-date now. And also I'm working with James to create his business, his online site that you were talking about earlier on. And I'm really looking forward to that project because, you know, I've got loads that I can share with you. But yeah, I won't blabber on. I'll quickly just kind of summarize that. Thank you guys for being here, even though it's small in numbers. Thank you for coming out. I know Saturday is really busy for everyone, but thank you for coming out. Thank you.
Thanks, Mikey, for that. At this time, Carl George, MBE, and Carl is a business planning fundamental. Sorry, I was going to speak about that. Sorry. I'll start that again, shall I? Carl George, MBE, and Carl's going to come along now and as co-owner of the organisation, going to speak about business planning fundamentals. If I can hand over to you now, Carl. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Morning, everyone. I think this is a fantastic idea for all of you to get together. And no matter what stage you are in business, what you're doing today is going to help you to take you to your next stage. There may be one thought, one idea, one individual, something that transforms where you are now to where you need to be. This is all Michael and the Business Banter team. I've been supportive, but I can't take any credit for the hard work that they're doing. Founders founders of Business Banter, so you can grow it, you can develop it, and you can make it successful. Don't take this is Michael's thing. This is our thing. Should we say that? This is our thing. It's our thing. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and I want to tell you probably 2 or 3 key principles as I was thinking about what would I tell some young business owners today if I was starting again. I think what would be the key things that I think you need to know. I've been in business 20 odd years, probably 30 odd years if you count when I was at school, because even at school I had businesses. I used to teach karate, so I had karate clubs all over Birmingham when I was 15. In fact, I was making so much money at school that they told me I couldn't keep the money. I had to use the money that I was making to buy equipment, even at junior school. So I was entrepreneurial all the time. And when I qualified as an accountant, I remember saying to my uncle, I don't want to have an accountancy business or work in accountancy. I want to have a business. And he said to me, but open an accountancy business, that's business, isn't it? And that's fundamental to what I want to teach you today, because although I'm an accountant, I'm an entrepreneur first. Does that make sense? I love business. I love the principles of business. I don't necessarily love the thing I do. I love the business of the thing I do. Does that make sense? Loving the thing I do makes it easier for me, but actually loving business is the reason why I'm able to do certain things. So the first thing you got to understand is business is simple. Business is simple, but it's hard work. Business is simple, but it's hard work. The strategies, the things you have to do, there's nothing that I need to tell you that you're going to say to yourself, I didn't know that. I couldn't have worked that out, because the way to do business is very, very simple. But putting the hard work in is where it becomes difficult. Does that make sense? So I first want to share with you something that I use to remind myself of the functions of a business, because most people fall in love with your things that you do. I've heard about property, I've heard about care, I've heard about restaurants, I've heard about sewing. You fall in love with the things you do. But guess what? I'm not really concerned with the things that you do to determine how successful you're going to be. In fact, without being arrogant or condescending or having an ego or anything, I could probably do any of your businesses better than you. You should be vexed and say, don't be stupid. How can you do my business better than me? Fiercely. But without knowing it, I can probably do any of your businesses better than you. Why? Because I just like business. Yeah? I could take your idea and make it into a business and make money quickly out of it. So one of the first things you want to learn is how can I, or depend on why you're doing it. Find out why you're doing it. If it is because you want to create some income for yourself, most people set up and do business and then don't earn as much money as they would have earned if they went and got a job. Does that make sense? Why not just go and get a job? And sometimes I'd advise people to say, you know what, you need to close that down and go and get a job. I sometimes need to tell people that, because you'd have had a job, you'd have had no stress, you can go in at 9, come back at 5, forget about it and so on. Business isn't like that. So why do it and not take out the income that you're supposed to be worth? Yeah. So what's these fundamentals? The first things I want to talk to you about is these functions of a business. Every business must have these functions, and I use this little man to remind me. The legs of the business are sales and marketing. So if you drew a little man, little stick man if it was me, because I'm not good at drawing, and you put a little heart in the middle, you had the head. The legs would be, one leg would be sales, and the other one would be marketing. Every business needs to have a sales function and a marketing function, and they're quite different. The marketing function is the thing that gives you what you're talking about, Michael said, with the brand. It's the name, it's the image, it's the quality. And that is important, And a lot of the time when I speak to businesses, it's the first thing they do. It is important, but sometimes you spend too much time getting your name right and the brand right and the image right and your website right and the brochure right, and you ain't got no business. In fact, I remember coaching somebody once, and she had everything in place. She spent thousands on her brochure, on her website, and how it's going to look and everything, and not got one client. I remember starting a business a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. I never had no brand, no website, no nothing. I just had a little notepad. Can you borrow a notepad? Had one of these. Can I borrow this? One of them. I had my first meeting. I wrote some stuff down on this piece of paper, and then I came out to the meeting, and I had some business to do. And after that, I then says, right, I had a name. Carl George Limited, it was called. That was hard, wasn't it? I had a name. I had an idea, and I just went and did some business. Does that make sense? And later on, I decided whether I wanted a brochure and I wanted the website and so on. And I'm going to tell you about networking today when we get onto the sales side, but because it's very, very important. And I was just talking to my wife recently about me getting business cards because I haven't even got a business card. For 10 years, I probably haven't had a business card. So most people think the first thing you need is go and get your business card. But I'm going to tell you what I do. I like to get other people's business card so that I can stay in contact with them. Does that make sense? So I think I'm going to get one after 10 years. But what I'm trying to get at, it isn't the marketing bit. That's a very important thing that you got to do. It's the other leg. What was the other leg? Sales leg. That's the one that you hate doing. Sales is when you go and get the business. You go into a meeting thinking, I'm coming out of that meeting with some money. Regardless of whatever your business is, you've got to find out, where am I going to get that income from? You got to know you got to know your numbers, you got to know your figures. And I get a buzz out of going into a meeting and someone thinking they're going to spend £1,000 and they spend £10,000 or £100 and they spend £1,000 or £10 and they spend £100. Don't matter what the figure is. Does that make sense? I just get a buzz about going, you think you are coming in here just to have a chat. So you think. But little do you know, this is what's going to happen. All ethical. Everything's moral. Everything's right. And sometimes you get to a stage in business where you can sit with a client, which I do sometimes, and say, guess what? As I'm talking to you now, unless you're going to spend X amount with me, it's very unlikely we're ever going to do any business. Very unlikely that it's going to be a mutually beneficial relationship. Because I've set a target now of what is an ideal client for me. When you first start in business, who's an ideal client? Anyone. Anyone who'll spend some money with you. In fact, sometimes they don't even have to spend money with you. You don't care. You just want them as a client. Yeah. And that might be a short-term strategy sometimes. It might be a short-term strategy, say, I need to get some business in. Let me just get as many as possible. Then I'll think about how I make money. Don't make it too long-term, because you may find that when I started my first accounting practice, I had lots of clients who didn't pay me the right amount of money, and they wanted a lot of effort from me. And it meant that I was working later and later and later to satisfy them, and I wasn't getting the right remuneration. So don't stay in that place. Just make sure you understand what your strategy is. Does that make sense? So what are the first two legs? Sales and marketing. The sales leg is the one that says, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get some business. And I think the marketing leg is important. But if you're not doing the sales leg, don't bother with the marketing leg. If I had to choose one of the two, I'll do the sales leg. Do you get me? I think you should have both of them. In fact, all the functions I'm going to talk to you about, you need to have every single one of them. You need to have every one of those functions. Next two functions are the arms. This one here is production, or whatever you do. And this one is HR. In fact, it's actually the other way around, but it doesn't matter. This one's production, and this one's HR. So production, whatever you do. Human resources, HR. So in business, whatever you're doing, you've got to be good at it. That's taken as read, isn't it? But sometimes you're not even good at what you do. And I have to be the bearer of bad news sometimes. You actually think you're great at what you do. You fall in love with your product or service. People don't want it. But you still think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Nobody wants to buy it. You can't even give it away for free. But you've just got a passion somewhere for that business idea. Sometimes you've got to take the feedback. Does that make sense? And I'd rather tell you it now so that you can understand. I can remember there's certain sectors and certain industries that don't make money sometimes. And I remember a young lady came to me to my offices. She was setting up, I think it was a dry cleaning business, if I remember rightly. And I looked at her figures, I say, if I was you, I'd stay in your job. I won't bother with this business. And about 6 months, 9 months later, and I don't do anything in a bad way, don't think I'm this terrible guy. About 6 or 9 months later, she came back to me and she said, Carl, I want you to come and see my shop. I've got it now. And you motivated me to go and do it. I wanted to prove you wrong. And I was genuinely happy for her. I said, fantastic, brilliant. So I went to see the shop and everything. She's presumably doing well. Until I saw about 2 years later, and she came into the car. I don't know why I ever came into this place. The debts, the problems I've got, I can't get the turnover and so on and so forth. And because I'd had a little bit of insight and wisdom about that sector and how much turnover you'd have to do to make it a successful business, I was able from the outset to say, if you're ever going to put in the location that you're in and get the right level of turnover to take anything out of the business. Does that make sense? So the startup and everything sounded good, she felt good, but sometimes you've got to make sure you understand that you're good at what you are doing, and plus people want it. They're going to pay for it. Does that make sense? So what hand is that? That's the production hand. The other hand is the HR hand. That is policies, procedures, employment contracts, all the things to training, development, all the things to do with, particularly as soon as you get started, most businesses are reliant on other people, and if they're not, you haven't really got a business, you just got a job. Yeah, just creating a job for yourself. If you want to have a business, you want something where other people are doing the work and you can step away from it. In fact, a fantastic business is one where you could leave for 6 months and come back and it's bigger than when you left it. That's a business. Yeah. Anything else isn't really a business. If you're talking about business and entrepreneurship, these are the standards you want to set for yourself. So if you haven't got a HR department, you haven't got HR functions, you're never going to have a business that is systemized and people are doing it in a particular way and they've got procedures. So you have to make sure you've got that side sorted. How can you do this when you're a one-man band? How can you do this? Did I start off with, unfortunately for us, most of us in our community, we don't start off with big investments, so we don't start off with family money. So I didn't start off with 50,000 or 100,000 and people investing in me and so on. I started off in a little room at my mum's house, which I call my office. And then from there, I employed one person, then another person, and so on. Then we moved out, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? So, guess what I had to do to fulfill these functions when I was a one-man band? I had to do it myself. I had to wear the different hats at different times of the week. But I couldn't say that I'm a small business, so therefore I can't have a HR function, or I can't have a sales function, or I can't have a marketing function. Because if I haven't got those functions, I haven't got a business. Does that make sense? So, the heart of the business, finance and administration. If I was to chop your legs off, and there was lots of business over there, would you be able to get it? You could probably crawl up there, but all you guys have got legs. So what would happen? Who would get the business? The one with the legs. So if I chop off a sales function and a marketing function, you could have a fantastic business idea. Guess what? Nobody knows. Nobody's able to give you the business. What if you have got the sales, you have got the marketing function, and you're now being able to deliver your business, and you've got the HR right as well? If your finance and admin is wrong, it's like stabbing someone in the heart. And what happens then? Eventually, you're going to die. Your body's going to die, isn't it? And if you've got a pacemaker on, which means your heart is not functioning as it should function, what does that mean for the business as well? So finance and administration are key aspects of the business. I notice there's a bookkeeping business at the back. Someone like that is crucial to your business. Finance and admin. Administration means you can answer the phone on time. You can send an invoice out. You can speak to your customers and your suppliers. The administration of the business is just as important as the business itself. In fact, sometimes I found business that failed not because of the product or service wasn't good, but the backup administration was bad, particularly around financial functions. You need to understand about cash flow, the difference between profit and cash, the difference between when you send out an invoice and how you get paid for that invoice. Does that make sense? So the finance function, having a budget, making sure you're working to a budget is probably the most crucial things that I want to see in this businessman that I talked about. Finance and administration. What's left on our little picture? The head. The head is where the leadership is. The head is where we pull all of the different parts of the body together. Because sometimes I see businesses where there's no leadership, there's no strategy, there's no thinking. You just get on with reacting every day as it comes to you. And guess what? That's when you're going to fail. That's when businesses, you could be doing lots of really good things, but they're taking in the wrong direction. You don't even know unless you get the strategy right, unless you get the business brain right. That's where IT is. That's where all the functions are of your business. So we've got a little bit of a model that you can start to think about putting the functions of a business together. There's a really good book called Most People Only Try, I Make Sure, by Carl George, so you can get that one. I wrote that about 15 years ago. Small little book, 7 Principles for Business. But the one I really want to recommend to you is Michael Gerber's book. It's called The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth. It talks about working on your business and not in your business. Just say to your neighbor, I'm not in. Not mine. I wish I made that up, but I didn't. Michael Gerber says you should work on your business and not in your business. Because if you work enough on your business, eventually you can get out of your business. One of my businesses that I developed, I was able to sell the business and leave the business. And before I sold it, I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to go to work to earn money. I earned money when my staff were doing all of the work. My job was more of the sales and marketing. My job was to go out and just raise the profile of the business because every function that I told you about was being done by somebody in the business. And in fact, some of those functions, when I started off, I was probably the best at pulling set of accounts together. 10, 15 years later, do you think I was better at doing accounts than my staff who do that every single day? No, in fact, if you came into my business and asked me to do a set of accounts, I was the wrong person you'd want me looking at your account. I could look at the answers, but I couldn't do your accounts. So I got to a stage where actually it's better me out of the business than in the business. Does that make sense? That's when you know you've got it working. You've got it systemized. You've got people fulfilling their functions, and then you can leave it to get on with what it's supposed to be doing, producing an income. Do you get what I mean about what a business really is? It isn't what most of us think it is, oh, I like doing this thing. Let me do this thing so it can give me some joy and fulfillment. I'm a little bit more cynical about it. A little bit more about, let's look at it and see if it can create for me the right level of income. There are things that I do that I enjoy doing, but they just don't pay me money. I don't try to charge for them. I say, you know what? I'll do that for free. I enjoy doing it, and I'll give it back as a service. But I didn't try and create a business out of it because it can't give me the things I want. So, share a couple of things with you practically before I finish off. They can ask some questions. Practical things then. The first one is strategy. You must have a strategic plan. You must think, where do I want this business to be in the next 5 years? Next 10 years even? What do I mean by that? You've got to have a vision of what the business looks like when it's finished. What's it going to look like? How many people? Where's it going to be situated? What's the mission of the business? And all of your decisions that you make should be taken towards that vision. You should have this vision at day one. It's not going to be exactly the same by the time you get to year 5 or year 10, but it should have the general direction that you're going. So every day you know where you're going. Does that make sense? So every business I've started, and there must be a correlation to the amount of successful business I've had and some of the things that I do because I believe they're simple. But every one I start with a strategic plan. Whether I believe God has downloaded it to me, I believe one of my businesses, I believe it was just downloaded because I just kept writing, and there was a business. Or whether it is me practically sitting down and going, right, this is what I want to do, and I've seen a gap in the market, I'm going to do this. I always have that strategic plan. Does that make sense? It's got the vision, it's got the mission, it's got what your key objectives are. It's just a broad understanding of where you want to go. That's the first thing I do. And I consider that strategy and I consider strategic thinking on a regular basis. I always do that. In fact, that's my Monday. For years now, you will, even when I worked in the practice, I never used to work on a Monday in my business. I always used to do strategy day or work with staff or train them or whatever. That was my day. And for years, Friday used to be my marketing day. So sales and going out to see clients and so on. I split my day up like that in the olden days. And I still got that general theme now in my business to this day. So you can normally get me on a Friday because I keep that part of my diary free because I need to go out and see clients. I need to go and do things to raise the benefit of the business. I need to be thinking about the pipeline. I need to be thinking about years into the future. Sales. Second key practical thing I want to share with you is about the finances, I said before. I think this is so critical. It's the thing that I use every single day in my business, my cash monitoring system. I have a daily cash balance. I know exactly what comes in, what's going out, and I have a cash flow that's over 12 weeks on a weekly basis. And then over the next 9 months, it's on a monthly basis. And I don't make any decisions. I don't do anything like getting that cash flow right. Anything at all in my business. It's the thing that once I've got my strategy and know where my direction is going, I actually put the figures into my cash monitoring system. And every time I spend money or receive money, I update it. Before we had super calcs and Excels and so on, it used to be in my little black book. Yeah. And then when we had spreadsheets, I put in a spreadsheet. And then I know you've got accounting software that does it. But I still have my spreadsheets that I've had for the last 20 years and I go into them. I'm not exaggerating. Even today, I went into my CMS. Even today. It's just like, you know how you brush your teeth? Hopefully you brush your teeth every day. Like how you brush your teeth? I do my CMS. You know, like if you didn't brush your teeth, you feel your breath smells and you feel something's not right. That's how I feel if I haven't been on my CMS. So if I could sell you something, that's one of the most important things to me and success in business, it is my CMS system, cash monitoring system. I have a budget, I know where I'm going, and if something is, if I owe the tax man this money at this month, I owe the corporation tax at that month, I know which income's coming at this month. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every single thing is planned. And when there's gaps, I know exactly where I would need to fulfill those gaps as well. Second area was finances and your CMS system and your budget, your management accounts. Get someone to do your bookkeeping, keep it up to date so you're on top of it. All those things are fundamental. So get your strategy right, get your finances right. Third area. I think you've really got to ensure that you are good at what you say you're going to do. Make sure you invest some time in yourself and become an expert. What does it take to become an expert? It takes you being on the internet, going on courses, talking to your peers, ensuring that you understand the product or service that you're doing better than anyone else. You've got to make sure you become that go-to person for the sector that you're in. I can't believe that I have meetings with people about their business idea and I, in half an hour, know more than them about their business. I know I've got a lot of business experience over many years, which you can't catch up, but I'll just quickly do a quicker research for half an hour. Then I ask you questions in your meeting about your business. You can't tell me who's your competitors, what's their margin, who's the person who's making the most money out of the thing that you're doing, who else is doing it? And I'm asking you, going, I don't know. And I said, well, I know such and such who does this, and I such and such who do that, and this is your business. And it took me half an hour to find these things out. Are you serious that you want to be in business? You see, some of this harsh reality sometimes, I've got to let people know so that they understand what business is really about. Does that make sense? Do you get my theme today? It's not really about being good and just doing the thing that you do, but it's making sure you understand the nature of the all of business, and you've got to have that mindset to learn it. Last two things: sales, marketing, but the key one is networking. Because it's not what you know, it's who you know that makes a difference, isn't it? And it's not who you know, but who knows you. And it's not who knows you, but what they're saying about you. So you've got to make sure that networking, I think one of the biggest things that has made the most impact on my business over the years has been my networking. And I don't actively say that I go out and be one of these people who are aggressively trying to get numbers. And so I'm not that kind of networker. I'm more a kind of giving to my network. So I just give, because by giving you whatever you sow, so shall you reap. I just try and help people. So I see people, I know that they've got a need, and I say, how can I help you? And I help that person. And I build up a reputation and guard with my life, my integrity. So people know this is somebody I can trust. People know this is somebody who does what they say they're going to do. And therefore, your reputation builds up over a number of years. So you will find that I may have helped you, some of you in here, today, and then you become, and you say, Carl, how much was it? How much was that time? I said, don't worry, man. You don't have to pay yet. You haven't got the size of business yet. And then later on, people have come to me and say, Carl, guess what? I'm in charge of X amount of £1,000 worth of budget. You need to charge me for something. And I go, what? Well, we need this in our business. And I give them an invoice and said, that's not enough. This has happened to me several times because I've invested where? When you didn't have it. And not for any other reason then, you know what? I'll help you out, like we're doing today. So I think networking, and how do you network? When you first start in business, this is what you do. I was the guy sitting there all of the time at loads of these kinds of events. This is what you do. You get to know everybody. You get to help other people. You go to business functions. You become the leader of business functions. You go out to the dinners. You go out to the different events. You sit on boards. You sit on school governing bodies. You sit on charity boards, all those types of things, just so that you're getting out there and getting to know people. Does that make sense? And then the more you do it, the more you find you've got invites. After a time, you may then need to say, actually, I'm getting too much invites, I'm getting too many things, I need to be a bit more strategic. But if you don't go, you'll never know. So sometimes I've been to something which is completely unrelated to anything I thought was in business. I happened to be sitting next to the person who I needed to meet for what. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you don't go, you'll never know. So networking is probably the third practical thing that I wanted to share with you. And I want to conclude with one practical thing. I want to conclude with this because I think it's one of the biggest things that you can do. Once you've decided why you want to be in business, once you've decided that, is it about the money? Is it about a bit of an ego trip? Is it about, I want to give something back? Is it about, there was an opportunity there? Once you've decided the why, and you've made sure that the why ties up with something that will be sustainable for you, once you've decided on the why, the biggest thing you can do now is to focus. That's my last thing for you. Focus. When I set up this last business in governance, I sold my accountancy practice, and I had 3 businesses going at that time, if I remember rightly. One was around event management, was going really well. Another one was around mentoring and coaching and that type of stuff. Another one was in governance. And I was sitting with a colleague of mine. I'd had my board meeting with myself, because I do these things. And I was thinking about, where am I going with this? Because they're all going quite well. And I remember I've always told loads of people to focus. Why don't you just focus? And I had 3 successful businesses, and I said, the only way that one of them will elevate itself to where it needs to be is if I cut off the other 2 and focus on the one that I think is going to give me the revenue I need. Does that make sense? It was a hard decision for me because all 3 I enjoyed. All 3 of them were making money, but none of them were raising their profile to the level that I wanted it to be. So I literally decided that day, was sitting with my colleague, I said, no, which one do you think? We both agreed which one. It was the governance one. I'd also had, so I was praying about it and so on. So I had some revelation as well that I think. So I said, you know, I'm not doing event management anymore, not doing that mentoring thing anymore and coaching, although I did like coaching. And I thought, wow, there's a good business. I just have to, you know, how I used to prepare my coaching sessions. Just walk in. That's my preparation. And I would discern things as well in a meeting and then coach you for £1,000. Wow, that was a good business. But I decided I'm not going to do the coaching one, not going to do the mentoring one, I'm not going to do the event management one. I used to have the top celebrities in the country. I used to bring them into an environment like this and get them to speak. So they're all millionaires, all very successful people. And I'd get other entrepreneurs and I'd get them in an environment like this, call it up close and personal, and put conferences on all the time. They would be, they charge me £5,000 or £10,000 to come and talk, and I would get sponsors to come and sit, to sponsor the events and then put those people there in front of them. I said, no, I'm not doing that one. I'm doing this third one. And guess what? By focusing, that has enabled me to achieve. Now, you could think about this and say, you know what? What about marketing? What about finding if there's a market there? And some of you do this. You do some research. You find out that in the marketplace, that it's a £5 billion business, and all I need to do is get 0.001% of that market. All of that's irrelevant at our size. My business is turn over 1 million or 2 million or something the most. That is like this. That's nothing. Does that make sense? The fact that the accountancy market is 5 billion or 500 billion is irrelevant because my little million is nothing. Does that make sense? My clients turn over hundreds of millions, but my business is just a minuscule thing in there. So it didn't really matter which one I focused on, is the point I'm making to you. So long as I focus, because you're not looking at changing the world. Well, some of you may be. You may be looking to do £100 billion business. But unless you're looking to do that, and that's not really realistic from where we're coming from, then I don't really care which one you focus on. Just focus on what you focus on and go and take some business from someone else, because you only need 500,000 or 1 million or 300,000. And that's nothing to do with the market. That's just to do with you. Does that make sense? Once you've got the right confidence, you've got those functions right, you can go and take business at that level. Okay? So I conclude there. I know we've got our other speakers. I know you got lunch to come afterwards. So hopefully you've gained something by learning about the functions of a business, because you've got to understand that you're working on a business. Secondly, I've shared a couple of things about some key areas I think you need to focus on. But the most important thing I think at the moment is, once you've decided, you just focus on it. You spend every living hour that you can with balance just doing that thing, and you can only get results. You can only get results. I'll end there. Is that okay? Any questions? And listen to these two young guys here, a couple of my mentees who are doing fantastic, and they're on a journey. They're on a journey as well, because success is relative, isn't it? Success is relative. What I might think is success, someone else would just, that's their starting point. And what someone else thinks is a starting point is someone else's. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's just all relative. It's just where you're coming from. So everybody's on a journey. Nobody's coming up here saying we've done it, we've made it, or nothing like that. We just can share ideas with you. My success is that since I started in business at a very young age, 23, I've always provided for my family and everything for all of those years. That's enough for me for my success, and laid a bit of a foundation. Okay, good. Any questions? You can.
Said for myself is that I'm also in the process of starting my own projects, community projects. And one of the things I want to do is to go into prisons and to provide a service in prisons. But I've had a lot of obstacles in my way. what I would ask you is, in regards to the time I start marketing and everything else, my ideas and everything else, focusing on that project or start that project, how much time realistically should I give it if it's going to start?
So, sorry. So I think I'm getting the question. How much time should I be in research mode and getting my business plan together and so on and so forth before I can start in business? Yep. And it's a bit difficult to answer in the sense that how long is a piece of string sometimes. However, let me give you some benchmarks. Bearing in mind, I've had a lot of experience in business. So you're not going to be able to do it this quick. But if I had a business idea today, what's the date today? End of July? I'm going.
First of August.
1st of August, thank you. If I had the idea today, I'd want to be banking money by the 1st of January. That's my standard for myself. And I only say 1st of January because I'm going away for the month of August. You get me? So I need 3 months. So that's just my standard. September, October, November, I'm thinking about Christmas. But I want money in my account by the 1st of January. If I've taken any longer than that, that's just too much for me. So if I'm doing it in 3 months, it doesn't mean everything will be right, everything will be ready, but I want to be taking money because I'm in business, I'm not in playing. That's how I see business. You get me? I'm in business. So what I would want you to think about is what you would want to do is perhaps 3 or 4 or 5 months maximum to get the planning right, to get the networks, to get so. But you want to be taking money within 6 months. If you're not taking money, something's wrong in my mind. Does that make sense? Some people have been doing it for years and they've been planning and so on for years. They're talking about it for 6 years, never mind started it and so on. Nah, if you're in business, you think of the idea, you get the thing right, and you go and take some money and you learn business by doing business. Might be a bit controversial, but that's just me. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
You mentioned a few points about when you do a plan, coming with a strategic plan, like naturally. Obviously, you go to church, obviously, you're a Christian as well. How do you approach it from also a spiritual perspective? Many of us here are Christians anyway, so we want God to be in it and God to kind of lead. So, how would you approach it from a spiritual perspective in regards to any particular scriptures or kind of thing you'd focus on, or do you know what I mean? How would you approach it from to make sure God's in it and you're being led so you can get that success?
That's an excellent. And what your spiritual, I know what it is for me, so I'm going to tell you what it is for me. But in your relationship with God, you will know how God speaks to you, how you communicate. You will know when you're on the right track or when you're wrong track because the relationship that you develop with God yourself. So I'm telling you mine, but don't say, oh, because how it happens for Carl is how it might happen for me. How it happens for me is I will get confirmation of things through certain circumstances. Because I read a lot, it will normally be some kind of scripture or something in a book or something like that. It will just confirm something to me. But when I really know that's been divine inspiration, it's because I get woken up early in the morning. Sometimes 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, a time where I don't want to be out of my bed. And then when I'm obedient to that, I'll get out of my bed, I'll go downstairs, and I'll start writing, and things will just be coming out of me. That's when I know, for me personally, because I've come out and generally when I'm praying about something, when I'm something concerning me, in the morning when I want to sleep, up and I have to come out of my bed and go and write it down. And and before I've done this where I've not written it down and I've not been obedient and I can't remember it. I get up in the day and I'm going, oh gosh, what was that thing? And I know it was a killer. So that's how it works for me. But what I would say for you is as you develop your relationship with God, you've all got a relationship, that you just be cognizant of how he speaks to you. And then as you get more confidence, you will come to a time where you go, I know how he speaks to me. Any more questions?
To getting staff and paying for them, because at the present moment I've got about 5 people in my team, and because I realised that I can't be in my business and I need to be on it, thanks for all those years. And having a team helps, but when it comes to paying now, I don't want to be keeping taking money out of the business. So how do you get to a point where you're paying staff, and what percentage would you start paying them at as well? So
Good.
just at that stage there.
Good. and it will be part of your strategies. So important. My strategy when I started, I qualified with Banter. Um, I think you should try and qualify in something. Get some letters after you. Get some kind of expert. I think you should do something that just elevates you to be an expert in your field. I always say you should do that. When I qualified, I was able to earn quite a lot of money for one client in London that gave me enough money to pay for myself and pay for my first employee. So I could have used that money for other things. But I made an investment at the time of saying, you know what, I'm earning good money on this client, so I'm going to employ somebody out of my own salary. That's how I started my first employee. And again, I had an office at home, so I didn't have to pay anything for that little room at my mum's house. And I started like that. And then my colleague actually, I'm indebted to him to this day, but we're more business peers now. So we're, and another good thing is to have like a little mastermind group. We challenge each other, my peer. If I do X amount of sales 1 month, I'll tell him, and then he says, "Okay, Carl, I'm going to beat you this month," and so on and so forth. But he came to the office at my mum's house, and everybody used to say to me, "Oh, I'm so proud of Carl, and he's got accountancy practice and got a little office here." And my friend said, "When we going to your office?" Because he'd come from London to see me. I said, "You're in my office." He said, "You're not in your office. I'm in your mum's house in the little room." And he bought me, not bought me, but he paid the deposit on my first office and service offices in town. I can remember that. We went to town, got some service offices, and he said, "I'll pay the first, but you're going to have to take it after that." In faith, I took it, and then I had my offices there for the first time. And then I just felt like that. So I think you just got to take it stage by stage. The first I employed was, in fact, Lisa's my second employee. Lisa's been working for 20 odd years, but she does my personal assistant, my admin. When I had the accounting practice, she took care of all the admin of my staff. So for about 5 years, I didn't really see her in my business because I didn't really get involved in admin. But she was my admin manager. And then when I sold my practice, I took her back, and she's still my PA, and takes care of admin and so on. So that's a crucial one for me, to take care of my diary and so on. And then you may have someone who can do the work, employ that person, and so on and so forth. Okay, I better take one more because I know we've got some other speakers. Okay, that's a good question. You was asking how much should I pay myself? I think this one's key because I had one business, and you learn by experience. I had one business that went bust, and I'd invested everything in the business, sacrificed things, and never take no money. Well, I did take some money, but not as much as I should. Guess what I did with every other business after that? Pay myself first. I ain't got a business that I've started now that I don't pay myself market rate. Otherwise, it ain't a business, in my opinion. So I know some people say you're going to make losses for the first 3 years and do all kind of thing. That's just not my philosophy. It ain't my philosophy. It don't happen to me anymore. Yeah. So I remember selling my practice and say, you know what, day one, I want to double what I was taking out when I was in my accounting practice, because that's why I'm starting a new one. Why I'm going to start something new and then earn less? So I said, you know what, I want to earn double. And I did. I went for my first contract. I told them a figure which would give me double. God was in it because I said yes. But gee, that was easy. And that's the philosophy I have now. That's the philosophy. If you're worth it, you got to make sure you're worth it, don't you? You got to make sure the thing that you're doing, you're very good at it. You know you put the time in. You know you're the expert. You know you're the best. So you know you're worth it. You're going to make sure you come on, but you're supposed to come on. So when I sit in front of people and I say to them, it's happened several times. Happened to me just before I was going away, where this client was saying they want to use my services. They're a very good business, you know. They turn over probably nearly £5 million. So that's a fantastic business. But my clients now are 100 million. So when they were trying to coach me to help them with their business, I was saying, I don't really know if I want to work with you. Not being funny, guys, but you may not be able to afford what I want to charge you because you're not that big. Whereas they were used to everyone telling them that they're a very big business. And they are a fantastic small business. Because if any of you had 5 million, I'd think, wow, brilliant, which I do think of them. But for corporates, it's nothing. Does that make sense? So the more I tell them I don't want to do anything, guess what? The more they're saying they want to do it. And just before I was going, he said, you know what, I'm going away August. It's back end of July. Why don't we meet September or October? Because we ain't going to be able to do anything anyway. And the more I tell them I don't want to meet them, guess what they're saying? No, we want to meet. And you see what it's like sometimes when you're chasing it and when you're desperate and so on, that's when people don't want you. But when you're not desperate and you're not chasing and you know what your worth is, it works the opposite way completely. So then when I said to them, oh, the first thing I need to do is going to be a couple of grand, they said, no problem, Carl. If that's what it is, that's what we're going to pay. Does that make sense? And that's where we're going to go. And the figures that I use, don't be scared about the figures. You can add notes or take notes of however you feel. If it's 200 for you or 20,000 for you, it's the same figure. It's the same concept. Don't think about figures. They're just numbers. That's all they are. They're just numbers. Okay? Hopefully that will encourage somebody. I think what you're doing, Michael, and this should be the team, business banter. Hopefully today when you discuss, you'll determine how you do this going forward. And you've got two fantastic role models and stories to hear from with Joel and with Melissa today. So hope you have a fantastic day for the rest of the day. Okay? Thank you.
Can I ask you to give sorry, can I ask you to give Carl a round of applause because I really, really, really think that's a wonderful presentation. And to thank you very much for that. If I took one thing away from what you've said today, it would be knowing my self-worth. And knowing my self-worth, I can achieve anything. So thanks very much for that. At this time, I'm going to introduce Melissa. Melissa is just a sec before you do come up, Melissa. Melissa Sherrington. We're going to be having lunch after Melissa's spoken, which obviously I'll introduce to you where you're going to be going after that. But Melissa's going to be speaking about journey into business, and I'll hand it over to you right now.
Hi, everybody. Hi. It's really good to hear Carl because, as he mentioned, I'm one of his mentees. I've known Carl for over 10 years, and a lot of the things he's spoken about with you today, I've implemented, and now I can see these things are set in stone in my business. So today, it's really about sharing my journey. I'm still on a journey, as Carl has said, but it's just really about giving you some of the keys that I've learned along the way and where I am at the moment. I'll go straight in. There's loads of slides. I don't normally use a lot of slides, but for today you have a lot of visuals. Okay. So a bit about me, Melissa Shervington. I'm 34 years young. Birmingham born and raised. Adam told me today I've got a Brummie accent. Thanks for that, Adam. Just to make me feel better. I've got two brothers and one sister, but I come from a very large family. If I was to count my cousins, it would be probably 200 and odd. Very large family. And I'm also the director of two limited companies. If this works. Okay, so my interests, traveling, family time, my faith, so I'm also Christian and believer, cooking, and reading. That's just a picture of me and one of my brothers on holiday. So the first key, and I'm going to share with you today 8 keys, the things that I've learned in my journey. Key number 1 is take time out to do the things that you love. First, set out in business, and this happened to me, it consumes you, it consumes your time, it consumes your energy if you allow it. So one thing I've learned is no matter what, as I've just gone through what my interests are and family being a high priority, faith, it's really about making time for those things first. So for example, at least one day a week, which is generally a Sunday, I don't open my laptop, I don't check my emails, I don't look at my CMS. You have to have a day where you say this is dedicated to God, family, whatever it may be for you. So however big you get, however deep into your journey, take time out to do the things that you love, because honestly, as you get more into your business, if you allow it, it will consume you. So that's number 1. Other professional interests that I've got. So I'm a board member of Nehemiah United Churches Housing Association, a trainer and consultant. So my first company was Engage Training and Consultancy, and that's still in existence. And also AKD Solutions is a company based in London, but it's a training company of which I'm an associate. and I'm also a member of BNI. Has anybody heard of BNI networking? Hugh has. So it's Business Networking International. Carl spoke about networking, and that's one of the key things I'm going to share with you today as well. BNI is a weekly meeting. So as this is a network, BNI is a very structured meeting that will take place on a Wednesday where I attend, and it's a breakfast meeting. So we're talking 6:30 a.m. every single week. But from going to that, I generate a lot of leads and referrals. I'll go into that a bit more. And this is just an image. So I spoke about the training. This is in Germany with some clients who I deliver some training to. Can you see the screen okay? It's quite light, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit light. Okay. So key number 2 for me is always give something back. So as I've mentioned, sitting on the board at Nehemiah United Churches is me giving something back. It's a voluntary thing. Now, I've always been in housing. I started out in housing, and I'll share a bit more about my journey. But no matter how far you go, no matter how busy you get, take time out to give something back. An event like today, for example, it's about giving something back, sharing what you've learned, sharing your contacts, sharing your network. Some people in business like to get quite greedy if they allow themselves to, and don't like to share their ideas or share. They might have a link who can get something cheaper, or a supplier who can do it at a different rate, but they don't want to share it. So it's about sharing your contacts, sharing your networks, and giving something back, whether it's monetary, whether it's your time, whether it's sponsoring somebody else or sponsoring a child. Always give something back. We all know the more you reap, the more you sow. And we don't do it to sow, but we do it because it's a principle that we should do anyway. So that is my key number 2, give something back. Have a dream and make it real. That's an image that I came across, and it really sums up how I operate. Some people goal set and they write goals down, bullet points. Some people put things on their tablets. But for me, it's about something visual. I'm a very visual person, and it might not be for everybody. But this is just to share. If you can see, it's a collage. Every year on New Year's Day, I do a collage for that year. So this year, 2015, and this is in line with my church's key messages and themes, it's a year of promotion. So every year, 1st of January, I make a collage, and that is on my wall. So as I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I see, and it's on my phone. So the pictures are something that really unlock my motivation personally. Might not be for everybody, but it's about really putting your vision and making it clear, having a set of goals. Carl spoke about having a vision earlier and having a strategy, and that's what it's about. So key number 3 is have a vision and make it plain. Make it so clear, know your vision, know where you're going, and visit it daily. My remote's not working. Are you doing it for me? Okay, thank you. So just to share a bit more about my journey. So 2001, I started out as a trainee housing officer, Focus Housing at the time, and that later on turned into Midland Heart, which is quite a large housing association in Birmingham. At the time, I was doing quite well. I did 6 months into my apprenticeship and then applied for a job. And at age 19, I was a housing officer. So I was like the youngest housing officer on the block. So you can imagine domestic violence cases, rent arrears, and then I turn up at the door, they open the door and think, who are you and what can you do for me? I had to work double, triple hard to make my mark. But I did that for several years. And then a couple of years after, around 2004, I went on, does everybody know Faircroft College? Yeah, so I did a course at Faircroft College, and I met who was my business partner at the time, Nathan Dennis, some of you will know. Met Nathan, we got chatting, and we started to brainstorm and think, what can we do? You know, we wanted to do something quite entrepreneurial but community focused. So at that time, we set up First Class Youth. I don't know if any of you, I know Michelle was part of First Class Youth. And First Class Youth was really, it was a network for young people who were aspiring to do something positive. So we'd put on events, and Joel was also a part of First Class Youth. We've all grown up now. We put on events. We'd go out and have events with 300, 400 young people attending. And then shortly after, Birmingham Youth Service clocked what was going on, realised that we were doing what they couldn't do. So then we realised we've got a business here. So then we launched First Class Youth, and that was about charging for what we were doing anyway as a service. And then we deliver that to Birmingham City Council, Birmingham Youth Service, housing associations, etc. And Condola, you're a part, yeah, not forgetting you. And then later on, we realised as we grew, we'd become very reliant upon funding. We'd become very reliant upon budgets from public sector. So in 2010, when the government changed hands, what happened to us? We didn't think about how we were going to survive without the funding, without the budgets. And so that was a very hard lesson at the time, because we were doing what we were passionate about, but not thinking enough in a strategic mindset to think, okay, how will we recover? Knowing your market, knowing what's happening in politics, knowing how that will affect your business. Doing a pest analysis, has anybody come across that? Yeah, so you're looking at politically, environmentally, how all of these things will have an impact on your business. And that's the thing that we didn't do. I've gone backwards, sorry, can you help me, Adam? So that's the thing that we didn't do at the time. So shortly after that, get back to my slide. Shortly after that, we made the decision that we actually parted ways as business partners, and Nathan followed his passion and I went in a different direction. So in 2010, I launched Engage Training and Consultancy, and that was more around delivering training and doing consultancy for the same markets, all within the housing sector. And that continued, and it was good and it paid well. But then what happened was in 2014, and I'll just head across, I came to a crossroads, January 2014, where I'd still been training and delivering consultancy at a good daily rate, but I realised that if I don't work, I don't get paid. And that was the problem. I was loving what I was doing. It was my passion. Absolutely loved it, earning good money. But if I didn't work, I didn't get paid. So what happens when I get married and I've got children and then I can't work for a year? I don't get any income. So I quickly realized I didn't have a business. I was making money, but it wasn't a business. So January 2014, I had to make a decision. Am I going to continue to do what I'm doing, or am I going to actually set up something that's going to give me a residual income? Has anybody read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Yeah, so it's about having, I recommend that book if you haven't read it, by the way. It's about having a residual income. So it's about, as Carl was saying, having a business that's making money for you, even when you're not there. So that's when I set about my journey. Key number 4 for me was about following your passion, because it leads to your purpose. So when making my decision, I had to dig deep and think, what are the things that make me tick? What gets me passionate? What gets me excited? And it's always around, and I know there's a theme here today, it's around property. I've always stayed in the housing sector, whether it be housing association, whether it be private rented, investments. Property is my passion. So even when I was training, there'd still be a link to. So that's where I made my decision to think, okay, I'm going to go in a different direction. This time, instead of the training, I decided that I'm going to set up an estate. Don't ask me why. I'd never done it before. I didn't know what I was doing, but I made a decision. I felt that I had enough knowledge to do this, because I'd had the knowledge around the business and knew property. I had a few investments myself, and I'd done some consultancy for a couple of estate agents, helping them to set up their structures, their marketing, etc. And I'd learned it very quickly. So key number 4 is be decisive and move with faith. So when I had to make this decision, I didn't think about it for 2 years or 3 years. It was literally a matter of months. January 2014, I sat down and I thought, I have to make a decision. And I decided. March, I went on holiday with a friend. We sat on the beach. She's also an entrepreneur. And I decided, beginning of March, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to set up an estate agent. On the 4th of June 2014, I launched the estate agents, and that's Amity Properties. So from January, thinking about the decision, March, made the decision, June, opened up the shop. It's an independent estate agent, Amity Properties, lettings and sales. There's a team of 4 of us now. Started out as just me and my cousin helping me out. And the word amity means friendly relations. And that's what really the business is all about. It's having friendly relations with our clients. Is there any sound on this if I play something? That photo was taken from, if you can see, an event that we had a couple of months ago. So those are some of our clients. When I started the estate agents and I first opened the doors, I had 2 properties, both rented out and both of them were mine. I literally had no clients. I'm not endorsing that. And after Carl's just said, have your business plan, have your strategy. I'm not endorsing that for anybody because this is what I believe God spoke to me personally. So when I opened the doors, it was literally in total and utter faith. But today, I can say a year later, we've got 50 plus managed properties. We've launched into sales and business is doing really well. But it started with nothing but prayer and fasting. And that is the honest truth. So I'm just going to share a quick, this is one of our clients, and I just want to share a quick video if there's sound, yeah? And I'll show you that because sometimes it's good to hear from the clients directly. And that's also a tip. Get video testimonials from your clients because your other clients and future clients want to hear, okay, you say you can do X, Y, and Z, but what do your clients say about you? So it was a bit noisy in the background because that was at an event. So, but one of the things we will be doing are video testimonials from now on. So I've spoken about Amity Properties. Lettings and sales is what we specialise in, but also I'm the author of the North Birmingham Property Update. I have a few copies here with me today. And what that is a newsletter. So I write about the North Birmingham property market. We're based in Perry Bar, so that's my niche area, and other areas outside of it, but my main niche is North Birmingham. And also host and facilitate landlord, investors, workshops and events. So one of the, where that landlord gave the testimonial, that was an event we had at the shop. And the idea was of the traditional estate agents, I wanted to do more. So therefore, I wrote about the market, but I also host the events. The landlords can come along, learn and network this, but also get relationships and speak tongue, and we build up a network so everyone in the room can generate business because we have suppliers there, we have landlords there, we have investors, so it works really, really well. Which leads me on to key number 5, and again, echoing what Carl said, become an expert in your field. Never be afraid to recreate yourself. If you've got an idea for a business and you may not have worked in the industry for years and have all the experience, but if you know how to run business and you're an entrepreneur and you've got the contacts, you've got the networks and you've got the drive, become an expert in it, you can do it within 12 months. So I've had to, although I've had the knowledge in the sector, the property, I've had to sharpen up. which means I've had to feed my brain, going to events, going to seminars, becoming a member of the National Estate Agents Association. Connection lost, Adam. Okay. It's dead. Oh no. You got a charger? Okay. So becoming an expert in your field, you have to sharpen up. So when people are talking to you, it's why should I do business with you and not X, Y, and Z? My industry is highly, highly, highly competitive. I don't know how many of you know Erdington, Perry Bar. There's estate agents on every corner. Why should people do business with me? Because we position ourselves differently. As you heard one of our clients say, we don't hard sell. People come in and they experience something different. We're all Christians in here, I'm presuming. So in the morning, with one of my staff members, we pray every single morning, set the atmosphere. So when people step into our shop, they just feel that something's different. There's something different about you, and they love it, and they come back. Once we get a client, they come back and they recommend and they refer. So I've just looked at my figures, and 60, I think it was 65% of our leads now come from referrals, and that's starting from a year ago. But when I first started, I had to literally do the groundwork. I had to go to auctions. I'm actually banned from Cottons and Big Woods auction for giving out promotional material. Yeah, believe it or not, I'm banned. But I had to start on the ground and make links. I had to go out and network. I had to go out and door knock and put leaflets through doors. I had to phone up landlords on Gumtree and say, I've noticed you got your property to rent. Would you like to work with an estate agent? I had to do all of that just to get to a place now where most of it comes from referrals. Are we warming up? Yeah? Okay. So what was the last key? Become an expert in your field. Yep. And while Adam gets the laptop, the iPad going. What number was it? Number 5? Number 5, okay. Bear with me. Do you need a password? Bear with me one moment, highly unprofessional. Does anyone have any questions at this stage? Okay, it might take a while to come back on, so I'm just going to finish off. The other thing was, and Carl mentioned it as well, masterminding. So there's a group of us, we meet on a weekly basis. So on a Friday, when everyone else is sort of going home and putting their feet up or going out or going to the chip shop to get fish and chips, we meet, there's 4 of us, and it's invaluable. So there's the 4 entrepreneurs, we meet 7 o'clock on a Friday evening every single week, and we challenge each other. So we come every week and we may have like an obstacle that we've come across that week, something we're struggling in, and we share that and we bounce off each other and help each other to overcome. We share new ideas and then we scrutinize and challenge all of these ideas. So we're all friends, but we do it in a very structured way. But that has been invaluable for me to help me sharpen up. Sometimes I do there every time I want to go ahead with it. But then there's HR. Carl spoke about systemizing, and that was one of the other things. And I'd recommend you read the book as well, the EMIS. One of the things I started and didn't systemize. So although I may be in a good place now, I've learned so much along the way. There's been hiccups. I didn't systemize my business in the beginning. I'm having to do that now. And I've learned that I could have saved myself had I systemized before I started. So by systemizing, we're talking about having a process for everything. So you want to have a manual that if a new member of staff came into your business, you can give them that manual, and in there is literally how to answer the phone, how to open your premises, because we take for granted, we think everyone knows these things. Where are the keys? How to send an email, how to put an email signature on your emails, simple things, all the way up to how to conduct, for me, how to conduct a viewing at a property, what you need to bring with you, how to meet a new landlord and take a property on, what do you need to do, what forms do you need. All of these things I've had to spend a lot of my time recently systemizing, and it's so time consuming. So I'd really recommend that at the beginning you systemize. Not everything you will know straight away until you've actually done it, and then things come about. So now, if a member of my team asks me, "Oh, Melissa, how do you do this?" straight away, before I answer, I make a note of it, answer it, and then I go away and create a process on it. So the next time they ask, I can say it's in the process, check it on the shared drive. So now I don't get phone calls. The shop's open now, haven't had a phone call yet, because people know now how to run the business without me being there. So that can then help you to work on the business and not in it. Because at first that was really consuming me. So I would say definitely systemize your business from the beginning and continue to do so. Not turning on. Okay. I'm going to bring it to a close now. Are there any questions that anybody may have at all? Yeah. We can talk. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Right, I'm in the process of starting an online estate agent at the moment. So I believe that is the way forward as well. Because I know that 90% people now search online for properties. I've been in the game for 10 years. I've worked for various estate agents. One of the things that I'm looking to take on, obviously, going to something big. At the moment, I'm in two minds whether to take the gamble, because I've got my fingers burnt already twice. Obviously, by trying the estate agent business, but I'm still keen to have a go at it. Would you suggest that I continue in going ahead with what I'm looking for? And basically, I'm looking to go into a franchise. Okay. Yeah, and that's the route I'm looking to go into, to start up. So I'm still thinking. Obviously, it's more to go into a franchise, but I'm just thinking whether to go ahead with it or not. Considering the experience I've had before. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think ultimately that decision lies with you and knowing what should you be doing. But I can share with you where I was at when I looked at the option of going it online initially. But in doing research and speaking to people, I found that a lot of people, despite having an online presence when you're looking for properties, people still like to deal with people. When it comes to properties, landlords especially, some of them more so than others have an emotional connection with their property, especially if they're starting out. So they like to be able to come in and speak to someone and know that their property is being looked after, because property is one of your biggest assets. When you think about it, it's your biggest asset, and you want it looked after. So when you're dealing with an online estate agent, you haven't got that connection. But I'm not saying there's a market for it, and online estate agents are popping up and they're doing really, really well. So it's just knowing your market, knowing what area it will work well in also, before you make your decision. But I can't advise you. You will know what's the best move to make. But, there's a market out there for it, and they're growing and expanding. But I'm just going by the research that I did initially. Any other questions? Yeah.
And as a result of that, people who don't have necessarily qualifications in that sector can go into it. Would you recommend people who are entrepreneurial to go into the deregulated areas of business, because they do have a professional front, but not necessarily the back end of it? It doesn't necessarily have to be professional. You don't need a qualification anymore to be an estate agent, where you used to maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not a regulated sector, which makes it easier to set up a business. But at the same time, if you look at how many estate agents, for anyone who's watching, have opened and then 2 years later they're gone again, and that's because they haven't gone about things in a professional way. So there's different professional bodies that you can become a member of, You have to be a member of the Ombudsman as well, and you can also become a member of the National Association of Estate Agents. And I think by doing that and becoming an expert, as I spoke about, those things put a safety net around you. So it's almost as though it's an easy market to get into, but if you're not clued up on what you're doing, I don't think you will last. It's like building on sand, in my personal opinion. But I do think that the market will soon become regulated. So I think that will change, and that's when we will see and separate the wheat from the chaff. Thank you. Any more questions? Yeah, I've got some newsletters and some business cards, so I'll speak with you over lunch. It's always hard doing it just before lunch because everyone's hungry. I can almost hear the rumbles from where I am. So should we eat and then I can speak with some of you over lunch? Okay, thank you.
Can we give Melissa another big hand? Thanks, Melissa, for sharing your experience with us. Very inspirational and well done. And I've got loads of questions myself after for you as well. We are going to do dinner now. Lunch, or should I say lunch. Lunch will be served downstairs. It's on the way down. Tanisha, you're going to lead us to it. There is a menu and price list on the outside by the serving cupboard downstairs on the way down. Are we there for an hour? Or we're going 45 minutes? And the company is Divine Catering, who are supplying the food. Very lovely food, so please make sure the card. Lovely. So if you'd like to make your way downstairs.